Cornelia Meyer about this. She's an economist and CEO at Meyer Resources and is joining us from Bern in Switzerland. Thank you so much for being with us. So President Trump, as you know, has framed Venezuela largely through the lens of oil. Why does Venezuela matter enough for the U.S. to take a step this dramatic and drastic?
Thank you very much, Folly. Yes, he has framed it publicly largely through oil, but there are other reasons as well. Let us first talk about oil. Venezuela currently produces, according to OPEC statistics, 934 million thousand barrels a day, which is less than 1% of global production, which is why you have seen oil markets not really responding. The oil price actually fell slightly. So that's that. But you're right, there is a big side. You have currently Chevron operating in Venezuela. They're exempt from sanctions because they have a production agreement, sharing agreement, and they're not paying the government in dollars, they're paying the government in barrels. So that works. Yes, potentially, you would have the U.S. refineries would be happy to get some more heavy crude, and if at some stage the Venezuela produces sufficiently, can displace some of the Canadian barrels. Canada, 60% of U.S. imports, oil imports, come from Canada. But we need to see one thing. This is not a light switch. There's been mismanagement, as you said. It's aging infrastructure. Venezuela used to produce 3 million barrels a day, more than 3 million barrels a day, now less than 1 million barrels. This will take time to get the production up.
President Trump has said that the U.S. oil companies would invest billions in Venezuela. What role, realistically, can these U.S. firms play in reviving production, and how hands-on do you think Washington would have to be?
Well, U.S. firms, European firms, Total, good oil companies can play a big role because it's not a small feat to rejig the oil industry. So you do need the professionals in there. So potentially they can do a lot. The question is, when will they go in? How fast will they go in? Because when you look at it, it's when you look at what you saw in Libya, what you saw in Iraq, when things become uncertain, Western companies have less of a tendency to go in. But let me just quickly say, it's not just about oil. It's also about the U.S. new national security strategy. Because what is a thorn in the side of the U.S. is the very strong involvement of China in the mining sector, essentially running the mining sector, where they have silver, where they have rare earths. The rare earths are taken out and then shipped to China to be refined there. So that's one thing. Then you have Iran producing some drones there. You also have Russian military advisors. So this is for the U.S. It may not be public, but this is broader than just oil.
It's also about strategic interest, right? You mentioned China's involvement in the mining sector, and China also currently takes more than half of Venezuela's crude. If that flow is curtailed, does Beijing simply replace those barrels elsewhere, or does it face real disruption?
It will easily replace them. You're right, it's half of the barrels exported, the 700,000 barrels a day exported. Half of them go to China, but they only constitute 6% of Chinese crude imports. So for China, these 6% can easily be substituted by barrels from the GCC, from the Middle East, or from Russia, from Iran, so they can easily be substituted.
Thank you so much, Cornelia, for your insight. Thank you for joining us on Al Jazeera. Cornelia Meyer.
Thank you very much for having me, Polly.